In this section, we're going to see about very important concept in Power BI, that is DAX. DAX stands for Data Analytics Expression, which is nothing but a library of functions and operators that can be combined to build formulas and expressions used by Microsoft BI tools. Why they mention Microsoft BI tools in the sense, DAX can be utilized in Power BI as well as in Excel, and also in the SSIS tabular model and Azure Analysis Service. For all these tools, DAX is the language used. So one language, many tools. So in nutshell, what is DAX in the sense? Usually in analytics, we need to deal with certain calculations to be done. Example, previous year, MTD, YTD, and you need to move to the previous member data like lag and lead. The one that DAX has a lot of functions that you can write it in a single liner or few lines of code, then your calculations will work. That is the whole purpose of it. So where it can be utilized, what you can do with DAX. DAX is used to do calculated column, calculated measure, calculated table. Predominantly it is used for the second purpose, that is calculated measure. We are going to deep dive into this as part of this chapter. Let's try to cover other parts in this video itself, like calculated column and table. We already give an introduction in the modeling section, but in this video we will try to expand little bit on the topics. So first we'll start with where you can utilize the DAX. First purpose is to create a calculated column. So basically it expands a table by creating a new column. When it is a calculated column, it will expand your table. Let's say you have 6 columns, you want to add it, then another new column will be created, and physically it is stored along with the table, consumes a memory. Less analytical capabilities. It's just for example, you can say like in a product dimension, you want to concatenate product item and product category, then you can go for the calculated column. And in the transactions, you want to calculate the total sales amount. Only the sales amount is there, but it is not multiplied with quantity. Then you can calculate sales amount into quantity as a new column. The disadvantage of this is, like, let's say you have 1 million rows. For all the 1 million rows, you will create another column which consumes the memory. Your data is physically stored in the Power BI. So this is the disadvantage of your calculated column. Now it will trigger you a question, what is the purpose of Power Query? Right? Power Query also we can do the ETL, and I can create a derived column. To answer that question, let me introduce this slide once again. If you see this Power BI overview, we have a Power BI desktop combines 3 different tools: Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, which is meant for charts and creating reports, and then finally a Power BI service. So let's not focus on Power BI service. Let's focus on here. So the Power Pivot is kind of modeling. As I said before in the modeling session, is to create your calculated column, measures, and then your relationship, data types, everything together. So while before Power BI desktop, these 3 tools, right, Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, are acting as a standalone products. Okay, so you can do your cleaning and all other stuffs in the Power Query, then keep it as a source for your Power Pivot. Then once the Power Pivot creates a model, then you create a report. So these 3 acting as a standalone products. That's why you can do either a derived column either in Power Pivot, also in the Power Query. So there are as these 2 are combined now as a Power BI desktop, it is up to you to decide creating a derived column will be in Power Query or Power Pivot. I personally prefer, if it is in the database, you create everything in the database and then just load the model. You don't do any transformation in the Power Query. But when it deals with Excel, there is no option. You do all your transformation in the Power Query. There should not be any calculated columns in your model. That is my best practices I can suggest. I hope you. Then it comes to the next purpose of DAX, calculated measures. So it's used to summarize the data into single value, calculated at runtime, stored temporarily, rich analytical capabilities. This is what I am talking about. You can do the same period last year, YTD, MTD, lead, lag, and Windows function. Whatever analytical capabilities you got, you can able to compute using the calculated measure. Simple example over here. You can just sum it up and define this as a measure. Then it will not be stored anywhere. This is just a text. While you are calculating using this measure in your visuals, during that time at the runtime, each time when you click on a filter, apply a filter, at that time this will be dynamically calculated. So another example I can show here is previous year sales, like calculate. This is the syntax. This is what I told. It's a functional language. Sum is a function here. It's a simple DAX, and here it comes with the calculate sum same period last year. Okay, we will try to understand in more detail when it comes to each function purpose. Now for you to get familiar with what is this calculated measure, it doesn't store anything. It's just calculations you define. While you are using it in your report, at that time it will be calculated. Finally, we will talk about calculated table, where you have your different examples here. Western region employees, meaning like in order to combine two data set, two tables over here in the Nags itself, then you can use the calculated table. If you see here in this dim date, calendar start and end, and dim date, there are two different versions of it. So either one you can use. So with this note, let's try to quickly see what are the things we can do in Power BI. Right. So we will start with the calculated column. So we have already created one calculated column here. If you see in our previous example, go to the table view and click on product. And if you remember, I just used the short product number. I took right off this particular product ID, then I got the 01 and 09 and 10. I mean last two digits from the product ID. Now let's try to create another column, like item name, category name. I will say new product name equals item name. The thing is, you need to understand this, how Power BI combines. You need to add the ampersand symbol here and category name, and in between, to distinguish between item name and category, always I prefer to have some special characters. You need to use the double quotes here for the text that you are writing. I'll put hyphen here. Hyphen also will create a confusion. I will say and hyphen and something like that for our example. There you go, and give some space. Okay, so now you can see item name and category name is combined. So either this will do, or pipe symbol, you can use whichever you want. You can use this one. So this is where you can create your calculated column, where this column is physically stored and you can refer anywhere. Next thing is to make you to understand the calculated measure, where I have already defined this one as total sales. I have shown you as well. Once you create this measure, let's say we'll create this measure, and then I'll use it in bar chart in a sales date. Let's talk about month from the hierarchy along with the year, so that you can see the trend, right? This total sales is created. Now we have a default measure here, initial measure. Now let's try to create another measure so that I can compare September 2025 data with the previous year, so September 2024. When I have another line that shows me the previous year value here, I can immediately see whether I have made a progress in this year, that is compared to previous year, whether I made a slightly higher sales or not, right? In order to do that, click on new measure. Let's name it as previous year. And then you need to use the calculate function. Then what you need to do, I need total sales. You already calculated total sales, right? It's just a sum of amount. I need to calculate the sum of amount, but not for the filters I applied here. I want for the same period last year, and I'm talking about sale date. That's it. Once you put this one and use this measure, right, previous year, in the y-axis, you can see the difference here, meaning like we are talking about the September. So you can see here total sales 547. For my previous year, that is 2024 September, it is 534157. Let's go and check the actual data for the September. It is 534157. That is what it is appearing here. So I have made a small progress compared to previous year. That is not so satisfying. It is in the same range. But let's say you made 543 this previous year, but current year you made more than 1 million. That is a progress, right? So this is how you can able to compare it. So DAX made our life simpler by giving you the functions like this. Same period last year, calculate. It's a functional language. I hope you understand the purpose of the DAX from calculated column as well as calculated measure. Let's try. So one last thing is to understand about the calculated table. So we have seen in our previous example, like we can create a calculated table using you click on the table over here, it will prompt you for a new table. Then you can use any of the table functions. Dim table, it's very easy. Let's try to create it. One auto, calendar auto. In this case, it is asking you which is the fiscal year end month. Some companies use March as the fiscal year end, or by default it will be 12. So let's keep 12. Then it will create you the I think there is already a dim date table is created. Let's check it out. Yeah, there is a dim date table. So using a calendar function I created, let's try to name it as a new table here. Dim date 2 or 1, whatever. I need to give a different name. Calendar table, and then calendar auto, I will say 12. So this will help me to create a new table. And also I can create another table from the transaction. Let's say I want to create order type wise some sales amount over here. I can use the summarize column, right? Let's say order type sales, okay, something like that I want to create. There is a function called summarize, and I use the table name transaction, and group by column is nothing but order type. So if you are familiar with the SQL, this is the same thing. It's like a group by operation. So total sales, this is the alias name, we need to give it prior, and what is the summation. So sum of, I need the sales amount, right? So this is the syntax. Once you press enter, it will give you another table. Let's go and check it out, the data. So we have created two tables here. One is calendar auto, and we have created another table as well. If you want as many tables as possible, you can utilize this summarize function. So basically I have showed you how to create calculated column, measure and table, but we have used different functions. So all are DAX functions only. Okay, so this is why I told DAX is a functional language. I hope you understand the concept behind DAX. What are the things you can able to create from using the DAX functions. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and comment below for queries. Do remember that data is your asset.